Hello, I'm Eric, and for the last few weeks, from the beginning of the NATO meeting in Brussels through to the end of this week, even today, have left me with a good deal of doubt and a great deal of concern. Statements made by the President and by some of his advisors and staff, especially Sarah Sanders, have left me shaken for a number of reasons. I was never a fan of Donald Trump or of Ted Cruz during the primaries, and obviously I was not a fan of Donald Trump during the general election. And the more I have seen of POTUS number 45, the less impressed I have been through the 18 plus months of his residency in the White House. And that doesn't mean I'm opposed to everything. However, his immigration policy as it's being practiced now, tearing apart children from their parents, their siblings, and other family members, his boorish and rude remarks, and the way he's carried himself in an arrogant and insufferable fashion, while among his allies and our allies in Brussels, his unreasonable attacks on Prime Minister May of England, and his fawning over Vladimir V. Putin are inexcusable. For a person, a candidate for president who says he wants to be strong because he doesn't believe other presidents have been strong enough, to agree with nearly everything that our nemesis, the president of Russia, says in the press conference after their 2-hour plus private meeting, to look so abashed, so much like a child who has been disciplined by his father rather harshly, or at least spoken to by his father harshly, and now is back among visitors who are at their house for dinner. But the child looks, well, not just embarrassed, but as if he has been castigated. To look that way at a press conference, well, that is not strength. That is weakness. Indeed, I'm reminded of about a 30 to 40 second clip from a longer scene in a movie Anthony Hopkins starred in, Amistad, a movie about a slave ship, a Spanish slave ship that had been captured by Americans, and the cargo aboard the ship, slaves, had been taken prisoner. The matter went before the courts, made its way to the Supreme Court. Those in favor of letting the men and women from Africa go and return home or be free here in America was that, one, they were illicitly brought to America on a Spanish slave ship, and that Spain had no right to ask for the people to be returned to them, to Spain and the control of the Spanish government. Of course, the United States government argued, on the other hand, that They were aboard a slave ship, and they were escaped in U.S. waters, so they were now the property of the United States government. In his closing argument in the movie, John Quincy Adams, among other things, speaks of Queen Isabella of Spain, who at that time was an 11-year-old. And the way that he describes her, she was spoiled 11-year-old. Of course, being queen in pre-teenage years, one might well expect her to be spoiled. But as he puts it, she toys with her courts. And he also claims that President Martin Van Buren would like to have that much control over the courts of the United States, which of course the Constitution doesn't allow for. So, here's the clip. It very much captures the character and the personality traits of our president.
The Queen again and again refers to our incompetent courts. Now, what, I wonder, would be more to her liking? Eh? A court that finds against the Africans? Well, I think not. And here's the fine point of it. What Her Majesty wants is a court that behaves just like her courts. The courts this 11-year-old child plays with in her magical kingdom called Spain. A court that will do what it is told. A court that can be toyed with like a doll. A court, as it happens, of which our own president, Martin Van Buren, would be most proud. Thank you.